Sometimes the greatest discoveries aren't necessarily made underground, but they're hidden in plain sight. Deep within the hills of the Razorback goldfield is the rare remains of a Cornish stamp battery, an overlooked relic that provides us a great insight into Victoria's goldfields heritage. Let's not stand around here talking, and let's get exploring. This morning, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, the expedition continues through some thicker scrub than expected. Hopefully we'll get through, we'll just see. We don't have a choice, do we? We left the battery over an hour ago, and funnily enough it's only 300 yards across a massive ravine, and we've just been bashing our way through a cliffy outcrop and heaps of thick scrub. This is actually a small mine, and this is called the New Jerusalem, and this was discovered at the time of the mining revival in this area, spurred on by the Harritville Prospecting Association. It's funny, the New Jerusalem, and we're heading on a crusade to another holy site soon. We'll show you later. At the moment, we're near a mine called the Champion Mine, and this little quartz reef was one of the earliest quartz reefs worked in this area, and it was found in about 1865. It's quite a rich little reef, and it operated on and off for a period of over 30 years, and during its time this tiny little mine produced over 10,000 ounces of gold. That really puts the Razorback to shame, because the Razorback, which was supposed to be such a large, bigger mine, only produced probably not even 1,000 ounces of gold. So over here, something very special, and this is what us crusaders have come here just to look at. This little obscure pile of metal is in fact a missing link in ore milling technology. This is actually the remains of the Champion 3-head square head battery. These are also known as Cornish stamps. These stamps crushed over 10,000 ounces of gold over a 30-year period. And these are actually the heads of those stamps. Most of this battery was actually made of timber. And we can see here the 3 heads, and it was only a tiny little battery box. And this here is actually one of the cams or lifters. So a timber, roughly dressed piece of timber would have gone up the shaft there, and this would have been mortised into like just a log, and that would have went up here. And this would have actually lifted these stems up and down to create that crushing motion. This is such a stark contrast to the Razorback battery we saw earlier, which had revolving heads. This battery was also driven by an overshot water wheel, one of those earlier cumbersome looking things, unlike the Pelton wheel that we saw at the Razorback. And this is a hub plate left over from that. This is a great little sight, and they're very, very rare. In fact, as far as I know, there's only one remaining example of these left in the world, and that's in Cornwall in England. Now in 1884, roving journalist for the Argus, the Vagabond, actually passed through this area. And the Vagabond wrote lots of colourful articles on all different parts of southeastern Australia. Well, we're fortunate he left us with a little glimpse into this actual mine site, and I'll read you what he wrote. Far in the recess of Fern Gully, where the waters come foaming down from the mountain heights, is the Champion claim, and the clang of stampers is heard in the midst of beauties of primeval nature. I couldn't put it better myself. This is hut remains from the Champion mine. This is actually a hut remains from the 1920s or 1940s period, when there's a small revival at this mine. But believe it or not, in this vicinity, under the scrub, are 3 other hut sites, and these hut sites date back to the early or mid-1860s. With quartz mining going on in the mountains over the years, each would have had numerous huts set up at them. The larger mines, as we've already seen, probably had at least half a dozen accommodation places, not to mention the battery sheds and the blacksmiths' houses. There were many other smaller shows like the Champion that had at least 1 or 2 buildings or huts in them. Then we had the initial early alluvial years where hundreds of miners rushed all along the rich riverbeds and so on, and they of course erected rough crude huts and buildings. We also have all the wayside stops between the goldfields like Mother Morrell's, Gow's and Noon's, Corbett's Shanty and so on. Not to mention the high country mining towns sprung up in remote districts like this. In the Upper Dargo we had Brockett, Louisville, Mayford, Chinatown, Verdun. Then going over to the Crooked River we had Jeff Davis and Grant and Talbotville and Hogtown, Ramtown and on, and then we go over towards Dart River, all the Dart River townships, Canvasstown, Zulu Creek, on the Gibbo River, the Mitta, all these townships, they would have had dozens of huts and buildings, some of them quite substantial, built on them. And you often look at old photos and see that you're quite surprised that some of these huts have got nice hip gabled roofs of neat shingles, beautiful weatherboards, some even had 6-pane glass windows throughout. And just imagine, most of these things were made of timber. And if timber actually withstood the test of time, how many huts would there be now, standing in the bush? This really opens another can of worms for all those interested in huts in the high country. Well, our Holy Crusade is over now. We've reached the Holy Grail site. What do you reckon, fellas?
Beautiful, great.
Well done. Well, fellas, here's to the Champion Squarehead Battery. Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! after the best part of the day trying to get down here, we eventually made it. I was here a few years ago and the scrub is just unbelievable, and just the expression on these fellas' faces says it all.
Unbelievable what? Thick?
Yeah, just crap. I don't know. It was an easy walk, I promise. Go away.